In this video, we're going to talk about using the debugger. Now, the debugger, as the name suggests, is used for getting rid of code or getting rid of bugs in your code, not codes in your bugs. That doesn't make any sense. But getting rid of bugs in your code. And I just want to reiterate this real quick. It is very, very powerful. It is amazing. You should use it basically every time that you run into a bug. Every single time that you run into some sort of logic error. So not a syntax error. It doesn't really help too much with that. But anytime you run into some sort of logic or runtime error, always use the debugger. Before you Google the answer, before you ask the kid next to you, before you go to the tutor lab, before you ask anyone, always use the debugger. The first question that you will probably get asked anytime you ask someone, I can't figure this out, I'm getting the wrong values. If they know what they're doing, they will say, have you run it through the debugger? Have you used the debugger? And if you say no, then you'll look kind of silly, and that's no good. So just always use the debugger, even if it's just to save face. So how we use the debugger is, so normally when we run our code, if we just press Control F5, our code runs and we get this little press any key to continue. And for those of you who haven't paid attention in previous videos and just press F5 to run your code in Visual Studio, then when you run your code, it exits out before you can see the end, and that's no good. And so we don't want to do that. But this is the one time when we actually do want to do that. And so what we'll do is we'll set, it's called a breakpoint, right here in this little green, or this gray area over here on the side. And how we do that is we just click, and then you can get rid of them by clicking on them again. And it's kind of fun, click and unclick and so on and so forth. And this is very useful because this will let your program run until it hits this breakpoint, at which point it will stop and you can actually kind of take manual control. And so let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So there are a bunch of different ways to start debugging. You can click on this button right here. You can go to debug and click start debugging, or you can just press F5. And you can see that my code ran up until this point. So num has a value of 12. If we come down and look in this window of autos, locals, it shows us that our num is equal to 12. And we can also go to watch, and I have a watch set up already on num to show me what the value is at any point, and right now it's 12. And so to move forward, we can actually press F10, or we can come up here and press step over, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so I'm going to step over. And so what this lets us know is this auto kind of shows up and shows something gross there. We don't care about that, so let's switch over to locals. And so this shows that num equals 12. We just barely stepped past that instruction, which you can see by this little yellow arrow. And so if we press F10 again, then now we can look at this window and, whoa, that's magic. What should num equal next? And then we'll press F10 one more time. And so it's important to note real quick at this point that this arrow says this is the next statement that will be executed. And you can actually change which statement is executed next. I don't recommend doing that because, as it mentions there, this may have unintended consequences. But this is the next statement. So when this yellow arrow is here, it means that this line has not happened yet. So let's go ahead and just click step over. And so we're going to read in the next number, and we'll put 20. Hit enter. And now we can see, look, it's even in red for us. Isn't this amazing? It tells us right here that the value has changed and what the new value is. It's pretty freaking amazing, and it is very powerful. Once again, use it prior to asking questions. Except for in this lab, of course, always ask questions. The lab instructors are there to help you. But once again, use the debugger. It is awesome. And so now we can even mouse over num at this point and see that the value is in fact 20. Right there, it shows it. Look at that. Oh, gosh. Right. Let me please work. Right there, it shows that it's equal to 20. That's so perfect. And so now we can just press F5 or click continue. And this just lets our program complete. And we're done, and we know that it worked. And so that, once again, is the debugger, how to use it in Visual Studio 2013, why it is the most amazing tool ever created, and why you should use it.